Greetings to our constituents, fellow Floridians, and all Americans. I'm Congressman West, and I say hello to you from up here on Capitol Hill, where this will probably be our last weekly video address of the first session of the 112th Congress. It has truly been an honor to be here and to serve each and every one of you as a congressional representative from Florida's District 22. One of the things I want to remind you of on this day, the 16th of December, in 1773, a few brave Americans who called themselves the Sons of Liberty boarded some of the British East India tea ships, and they threw off tea into the Boston Harbor. Today, we remember the Boston Tea Party. And therefore, when we think about what they began in this country, a quest for freedom, a quest for liberty, a quest for democracy, a quest for a country where the individuals and their rights and freedoms would reign preeminent, that is what we enjoy, that is what we live in the United States of America today. So to all of those who are descendants of those Sons of Liberty, I say thank you on this very special day. You know, it has now been a full year that I have been up here, and I just want to come back and share some thoughts with you before I kind of give a little recap of what has happened with the House Republicans and the position that I've had up here in Washington, D.C. I think one of the biggest concerns that I have after the year being here is the fact that there are too many lies, there's too much deceit, and there's too much manipulation of the American people going on. There are too many people that are up here not telling the truth to the American people, but somehow they are the ones to get elevated. Somehow they're the ones that are revered. But yet those who seek to tell the truth are the ones that are sometimes demonized and castigated in a negative light. And I'm sure you guys know exactly where I'm going because I've experienced that quite enough. But the thing that I know, as we were taught in the military, is that you don't take flack unless you're over the target. The important thing is to restore honor, integrity, and character to Washington, D.C., to say the things that need to be said. Because when I sit here and was asked just recently about a Pew Research poll that said that there were no one else on Capitol Hill other than House Republicans, that's very troubling to me. Because somehow the message that is what is happening in Washington, D.C. is not getting out to the American people. So as a recap, I'd like to go through some of the accomplishments of the House Republicans, this majority that you sent here in November of 2010. One of the key things, the plan to help America's job creators. House Republicans passed over 30 bipartisan bills that protected job creators from tax increases, rolled back job-killing regulations, promoted American energy independence, and created a better environment for job creators. We were successful in blocking President Obama's year-long effort to take more money from American job creators and hardworking families, which would kill jobs. House Republicans fought to ensure the president signed into law the 1099 reporting requirement repeal, the 3% withholding tax repeal, and 3 free trade agreements that will create jobs for American workers. The Wall Street Journal called the efforts of the House Republicans to roll back the Obama regulatory wave the largest overhaul of the rulemaking process and larger administrative state since Ronald Reagan and perhaps longer. As far as the budget process, the House Republicans advanced a budget that no previous Republican majority would have had the courage to consider, let alone overwhelmingly pass. And as we sit here today, we're talking about close to 960 days that the Senate Democrats, under the control of Majority Leader Harry Reid, have not passed a budget. But how often do you hear about that in the media? And that is what I'm talking about a country that is suffering because the truth is not being told. Lies, deceit, and manipulation. House Republicans courageously addressed our nation's debt crisis by cutting spending, reforming entitlements, and growing the economy. The reforms advanced in the House-passed budget would permanently strengthen Medicare. One of the key things we must understand, we've got about 9 years, according to the Medicare Board of Trustees, before this program goes bankrupt. We have to look at means by which we can protect Medicare for our current recipients and make sure we preserve it for future recipients, such as our children and grandchildren, and even for myself, who's about to turn 51 in a couple of months. House Republicans voted to cut roughly $6 trillion in government spending over the next decade, making certain the government lives within its means so hardworking American families can prosper. And I want to tell you, even our own operating budget here in the House of Representatives, we were successful in cutting back almost 6%. And we will also cut it back even more so next year in freezing my pay. So those of you that think that we've been up here voting for pay raises, we have not done so. We've frozen our pay, and we will continue to do so. We voted to block the largest tax increase in American history and call for pro-growth tax reform that will make the tax code fairer. It is not about people paying a fair share. We've talked about this before, this demonizing of people within our country, a certain demographic group. And tell me in history when we have had a national leader to do exactly what we see President Obama doing, attacking a certain demographic, where has it ever turned out well for that country? The top 1% pay 38% of federal income taxes. The top 5%, they pay 58% of federal income taxes. The top 25% of wage earners in the United States of America pay 86% of federal income taxes. Yet we have about 48% of wage earners in this country that pay no federal income taxes whatsoever. We have got to have a flatter and fairer tax code, simpler and more competitive, that can foster a conducive environment for our job creation. House Republicans voted to protect Americans' health care choices. During the first month of our new majority, House Republicans voted to repeal President Obama's job-destroying signature legislative accomplishment. And just yesterday, I sat on one of our subcommittees in the Small Business Committee, and we looked at the medical loss ratio and the effect that it's having on our insurance brokers and agents who help out our small business owners. And again, we're forcing people out of a market. And as we continue to force more people out of a market, then you're going to have less competition. And we already see insurance premiums that are rising. We voted to cut the deficit by $700 billion and cut long-term spending by more than $2.6 trillion. We voted to repeal the $800 billion in tax increases imposed on job creators and hard-working Americans by the new health care law. The House Republicans fought hard for hard-working American taxpayers. We passed cut, cap, and balance this summer. And like everything else that Harry Reid does, he tabled it, not even for consideration. That would have cut spending immediately, enforced spending caps, and would have required Congress to send a balanced budget amendment to the states for ratification. As I said, the Senate Democrats, under Harry Reid's leadership, did not even consider it. While the last 5 Republican congressional majorities failed to do so, we forced a House and Senate vote on the ultimate solution to our debt crisis, a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution. But ladies and gentlemen, in the House it failed. And one of the things I want to say that was a sad day for me was that there were Democrats that voted against having a balanced budget amendment, and they actually cheered and they clapped when it failed. For the first time since World War II, our discretionary spending has been cut for 2 straight years in a row with the appropriations bill that we're going to vote for today for fiscal year 2012, as well as with the continuing resolution because the Democrats did not have an appropriations bill for 2011. We finished up that business for 2011 as well. But the most important thing to understand, in the 2 previous years before the House Republicans came here, this group that you sent to Washington, D.C., in fiscal year 2009, there were 10,000 earmarks on the appropriations bill under the Democrat control of Nancy Pelosi. In 2010, there were 8,000 earmarks in the appropriations bill under the House control of Nancy Pelosi. In fiscal year 2011 and fiscal year 2012, there are 0 earmarks in the appropriations bills that have been sent forth since you sent this new majority under the House Republicans to Washington, D.C. So let me be clear in finishing up this final weekly video address of calendar year 2011. We have done what you sent us up here to do. I know that there have been some times when you would have wanted us to do a little bit more. But one of the key things that you have to continue to understand, it takes a while to turn an aircraft carrier around. There have been decades that have built up the fiscal irresponsibility and the wasteful spending that you see here in Washington, D.C. But in 1 year, the conversation in Washington, D.C. has changed. And I will continue to call out anyone that puts forth lies, manipulative talk, and deceit that does not allow this country to have a greater future and a brighter day. This constitutional republic called the United States of America, as long as I have air in my lungs, will continue on for future generations. And anyone that stands in the path of the greatness of America, an America that I swore to give my life to protect and defend, I do not consider them someone that has the exact same vision that I have for this great nation. And if that means that people are going to criticize me, if that means that the media is going to write the type of stories that you know that they write about me, if that means that people are going to continue to say the very vicious and vile things that they say, that's okay. Because when I look at myself in the mirror and I think about the things that we have accomplished in this fiscal year and also in this calendar year, then I am happy that I've been able to serve you, first time ever, as a congressional representative. So I wish you all happy Hanukkah, a Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year. And may God bless these United States of America. Thank you.